A former hedge fund manager who worked for a fund affiliated with Stephen Cohen's SAC Capital was arrested today. U.S. prosecutors calling it the most lucrative insider trading scheme ever. Joining us more is Reuters Wall Street Investigations editor Matthew Goldstein. Now, Matt, put this into perspective for us. We've had insider trading cases before, but this alleged insider trading scheme, just how big was this?
Well, the number's big. They're talking about $276 million. And it's a combination of profits and avoided losses. More of it's actually avoided losses because they knew they were tipped off supposedly to sell out of these two biotech stocks because they knew the trials were going to be bad.
And how much in terms of profits are we talking about, allegedly?
It's a mix of about half and half here, and obviously avoiding losses is big too, because remember 2008 was a pretty bad year for hedge funds, particularly for this fund called CR Intrinsic, which is a portfolio of SAC Capital, and back then they actually held most of Steve Cohen's actual money in there, so it was very close to home with him.
Well, Matt, so explain it to us. Just how did this work?
Well, in terms of the details of how it actually worked, it's not totally clear. I mean, they have a cooperating witness, a doctor, an 80-year-old doctor, believe it or not, who's a professor of neurology who was an advisor to the two companies, Elan and Wyeth, and he worked for an expert network firm our reporting has shown it's been this firm called the Gerson Lerman. And there's been a lot of these cases where these expert network firms have shown up in this, and he allegedly tipped off this trader at SAC, who then, presumably, according to what the prosecutors said, what's notable is the first time, now Steve Cohen is not mentioned by name, but he's alluded to in the papers. They have a reference to the owner of the hedge funds having signed off on the trades and having been told about them. Now again, not saying that he knew that there was inside information, but it's a higher level involvement that we've seen in these other cases where former SAC people have come up.
Okay, so let's clarify this. So Stephen Cohen himself was not charged in this, but his unit of SAC Capital, CR Intrinsic, was charged along with.
But in the SEC, not the Justice Department.
But the SAC. All right, now, how many former traders or analysts who worked for SAC Capital have now been convicted?
Well, it's a growing list, Fred, and right now we're up to about 5, either civilly or criminally. There's a 6th person who was an unindicted co-conspirator, has not been charged. So, in the span of 2 years, we've seen this heightened involvement, with the government, clearly ratcheting up the pressure, it would appear, on Cohen and SAC Capital.
So, from the appearance of this, does it seem as though they're going after the little fish to get the bigger fish? I mean, where does Stephen Cohen sit in all this?
Yeah, well, look, that's always the way they do this. They go up the ladder, so to speak. And so far, these other cases sort of haven't really gone there. I mean, they've gotten a few people, but they haven't gone all the way up. And interestingly, SAC in all these other cases was very quick to put out statements basically saying this is egregious conduct, it's a rogue trader, we have great compliance. Noticeably in this case, it took them many, many hours. It's about almost like 3 o'clock in the afternoon until they finally came out with a statement. And it was a very personal statement beginning that Mr. Cohen and SAC believe they've done nothing wrong and have always acted appropriately. In no other statement have you actually seen Steve Cohen inject himself into the comment, which, I don't know how much you want to read into that, though, but it's almost more of a personal level where Steve himself obviously feels he has to somehow respond to this.
And as for SAC, what was its response in the statement? What did it say?
Well, I mean, it's a very short statement. Basically, they're saying that they don't believe they've done anything wrong and they'll continue to cooperate with the government inquiry, which is what you would expect them to say. And again, we have to be very clear. He has not been charged with anything. This may go nowheres. This case may itself fall apart. There's no appearance of wiretap evidence here that we've seen in other cases like the Galleon cases. But it's notable because it's given the amount of dollars involved and the fact that it's the first time we've seen direct references to Cohen as being the owner of the funds in any of these complaints. We've never seen that before.
And in the statement itself, as you point out. Thanks a lot, Matt, for following this. Our thanks to Reuters Wall Street Investigations editor Matt Goldstein. I'm Fred Kantayama. This is Reuters.